2025 is the year of financial experimentation, right? Those buy now, pay later services like Afterpay and Klarna and Affirm are exploding because Gen Z are basically shunning credit cards. Those who don't understand how to actually use them properly are like, I'm just not going to get it. And of course, digital only banks like Chime are drawing in younger crowds simply by giving them their salaries, their paychecks a couple of days earlier than they would normally get it. And beneath all of those fancy fintech apps, the fundamental question still remains, haven't changed, and that is simple. How do you build lasting wealth and avoid the debt trap? Stay with me until the end, and I'll share with you a personal story about how one of the simple Babylonian rules transformed my savings. The Richest Man in Babylon. This is such a great book, and it answers these questions with astonishing relevance. So let's break down the timeless principles into actual lessons. Lesson 1, 7 cures to a lean purse. And lesson 1 is pretty simple, and it is, and I'm going to read it for you. The first cure: start that purse to fattening. Basically, pay yourself first. In the book, Arcad, who is the central main character of the book, who is also the richest man in Babylon, insists that a portion of all you earn is yours to keep. He recommends saving at least 10% of all the income that you earn, all the money that's coming into you, before paying bills, debt, and spending anything. In today's world, automated savings apps and being able to transfer automatically, micro investing apps, this all makes it much easier to actually do this. Instead of treating those buy now, pay later services as free money, use them only after setting aside your 10% for savings. I don't suggest anyone use them at all, but if this is something that you're gonna do anyways, at least do it after you set aside money for your savings. Money grows, but it'll only grow if you set it and let it accumulate. Spending everything ensures that you're going to continue to be in a scarcity mindset. This practice is backed by behavioral research showing that consistent small savings accumulate into surprisingly large sums thanks to the power of compounding. When I first read this rule, I was broke. I was impulsive with my spending. I actually listened and actually took into account what was in the book and actually started implementing it into my life. Yes, there are other books that I read about money prior to this that says a lot of the same things, but something about this book kind of stuck with me, maybe because it's thin, simple to read, and didn't have a bunch of crazy technical analysis and blah, blah, blah. I was about 80 something thousand dollars in debt. Initially started at $234,000, including my student loans, which is an insane amount of debt. But this small habit, 3 years later, I had a fully funded emergency fund, 1 solid year of expenses, which is something to be proud of. And my debt dropped dramatically. The thing is, I had a decent amount of income coming in with my side hustles and my job, but I was just spending it all recklessly. The second cure for a lean purse: control thy expenditures. You need to differentiate between needs from wants. The book warns that expenses expand to consume income unless you do something to resist such actions. With social media always driving FOMO and targeted ads one scroll away, impulse buying is easier than ever, just like saving is easier than ever. So you need to pick your poison. In the book, the author's solution is to categorize your purchases into necessities versus the desires that you want, and consciously limit the latter, right? So basically, you need to prioritize what's important: your needs, your housing, your transportation to get to work, all those necessary items, your food, and the wants, that new camera that you don't really need, but you really want it, put that on the lower end of your priority list. And if you can actually afford it, then that's when you'll go ahead and get it. In today's world, personal finance apps make it quite easy to track your spending, where you're putting your money, the categories, and all of that. But if you don't have any self-discipline, then you're not going to actually be able to move forward and actually put this step into action, because self-discipline will always remain the key when it comes to your spending. What we have seen a lot in the recent years is that the younger generation, people are basically shunning debt. People are rejecting debt because they realized that the uncontrollable spending changed them to wage slavery. Basically, you're never going to escape the rat race if you can't keep yourself out of debt. So, not saying that debt is bad. I have multiple credit cards and I don't have any debt with credit cards because I know how to use my credit cards. But I understand that not everyone has the same control that I do. Some spend more, some spend less. There's people that make more than me that spends way too much and they can't handle it and they're living paycheck to paycheck. So in order to escape the rat race, you have to figure out your own self-discipline. The third cure is make thy gold multiply. Basically, all this is saying is that you need to invest wisely. Saving alone isn't going to build you wealth. Our CAD urges us to put each coin to work, basically. It says put each coin to labor. And you'll hear everyone talking about it who talks about finance, and that is that you need to make your money work for you so that it may multiply, it may reproduce, it may grow. In the book, Arcad, he emphasizes that we need to invest in ventures that we actually understand. So instead of investing in something that you don't understand, following hype or anything like that, you need to do your own research, do your due diligence, and actually understand what it is that you're investing in. Of course, you need to diversify. You can't just put all of your eggs into one basket. You need to diversify so that your returns accrue steadily. Basically, in today's age, all that really means is that you need to not put all of your money into blue chip stocks, but you need to diversify into index funds and maybe individual stocks, real estate, REITs, if you don't want to actually be able to get into physical real estate. Maybe you don't want to be a landlord. Maybe you don't want to do any house hacking or anything like that. And side businesses. We live in a age of, the gig economy where there's always something that you can do to earn more money. But the goal here is to produce money while you sleep. And of course, you need to avoid schemes that's promising you unrealistic returns. In the book, he says that gold flees from those who try to force it into impossible earnings. The fourth cure, guard thy treasure from loss. Don't gamble on hype. That's basically all I'm saying here. That's basically all it says here. Of course, we're in an age where we have a multitude of different things that we can invest in. We have new crypto tokens. I'm not saying don't invest in crypto. I am invested in crypto, but don't follow all of the meme coins, all of the promises of unrealistic astronomical gains just because you hear it from someone else. Do your own due diligence, like I said before, and actually invest in what you know. Yes, Bitcoin is a good investment. In my opinion, I invest in Bitcoin. I'm okay with it. I accept the risk. Also, don't get into anything unless you understand and accept the risk of the possibility of loss. The book stresses due diligence. Consult experts. Avoid anything that sounds too good to be true because usually it is. And insure yourself against catastrophe. Nowadays, this caution is more relevant than ever as AI generated scams and fraudulent pump and dump schemes are a part of life now. Diversify across asset classes and research the underlying business model before you get into anything and commit any funds to any investment. Cue number 5, make thy dwelling a profitable investment. Basically just saying somehow make your house into an investment which can earn you cash flow. Arcad advises owning a home rather than paying rent. But of course, before you do that, you have to take into account if you're able to and what it really takes. Do a deep dive into what it means to own versus renting. With the rise of remote work and the shifting demographics, real estate has become both an asset and a lifestyle choice because a lot of people are able to just stay at home and continue to work. And of course, buying property has remained and still remains one of the tested paths to wealth because mortgage force disciplined saving and property values tend to appreciate. Of course, there are instances where the housing market crashes and you're paying a higher mortgage than your house is actually worth at the point, but that is not always something you need to worry about. However, a hot housing market means that the rule should be adapted. Consider house hacking, renting out one of your rooms via Airbnb or some other means. Maybe you could just do a long-term lease with a tenant for one of your rooms. Any of these are great. Or maybe you bought a house, a duplex, and you're able to rent out the other portion of your duplex and live in one. There are many ways that you can house that in order to adapt to the changing ecosystem of the housing market. Or investing in REITs if direct ownership is just out of reach for you. The 6th cure, ensure a future income. Protect yourself and protect your family. It is emphasized in the book, building a stream of future income and protecting your family with insurance. Take advantage of your employer-sponsored retirement plans and take the time to open up additional retirement accounts in case you max out the one that your employer provides to you. Health insurance is important, and disability coverage if that is something that is relevant to you. If you're self-employed or a part of the gig economy, which is quite common in 2025 and it will continue to be common in the following years, set up your own retirement plan and insurance policies, which isn't that hard to do. Just do a little research and get those going. Financial freedom is going to require you to do a little bit more planning beyond your next paycheck. The seventh cure: increase viability to earn. Basically, just improve your ability to earn more money. Invest in yourself. Once you invest in yourself, you're able to earn more because of the skills that you are acquiring. Arcad's final rule is that education and self-development is the surest way to increase your earning. Lately, we noticed that the labor market, the job market, rewards those who upscale continuously, whether it is in AI literacy, coding, video editing, or digital marketing. Free courses online, micro credentials, AI mentors make this accessible. There's always a way for you to get more knowledge. You just have to be able to get the knowledge and actually put it into action so you can begin to earn more money. Crush the spirit of procrastination by starting today. Of course, we're at the end of the year. It's November, and we're going to be rolling into January, and people are going to be making all these great New Year resolutions, but you're not going to do that. You're going to go ahead and start today. Start learning something and improving yourself so that you can start earning more income. And the next timeless lesson from this book that I would like to discuss is to seek wise counsel. Listen to experts and not some armchair gurus. One of the book's most quoted lines is, "It costs nothing to ask wise advice from a good friend." In the age of an endless YouTube finance gurus, which I am not, I've said it multiple times on this channel, AI generated advice, the real challenge is to be able to filter out credible guidance from the noise. Follow experienced investors. Consult with certified yet vetted financial planners. The reason I say vetted is because with AI, there's almost no guarantee that these gurus that we hear, all these people who are certified, got their certification on their own through the knowledge that they have, because even schools don't really care much about the use of AI, which is okay because it should be used as a tool to improve your knowledge, not so much as completion tool, which is what a lot of people do to get through their degrees, which is why a lot of companies in the job market don't focus so much on the degree that you have or where you got it, unless it is in some obviously necessary field like being a lawyer or being a doctor, things like that, because they know that you don't necessarily need to have learned anything in school in order to have completed your degree. And of course, once you get this advice, you need to cross-check this advice against multiple reputable sources. Popularity doesn't equal expertise. Treat all of the hype with skepticism, because no matter how many followers someone has doesn't mean that they actually know how to handle their own money. Lesson number 9 I want to talk about is repay your debt systematically. Use the 70-20-10 rule. The author suggests that if you're in debt, live on 70% of your income, save 10%, and use 20% to pay off the remaining debt that you have. Not what I would suggest personally, but it is still a valid way nonetheless. It's one of the ways of doing something, but there's a million ways to skin a cat, as they say. This is basically just the early version of a debt snowball. But with all of the automation tools that we have, being able to transfer automatically and not have to actually look at any of our money, because we know where everything is going to go through budgeting apps and transfers, things like that. With these automation tools, we can distribute our income into separate accounts to ensure that we are enforcing this rule. We're in an era where student loans, definitely student loans, I had like $130,000 worth, and it was terrible. But overcoming that is a story for another time. And credit card balances burden many people. This disciplined allocation ensures that debt declines even as the savings grow. A lot of people always say, why did you save when you have debt? Well, because I didn't want something to happen and then I have nothing to cover whatever happened. I suggest always save as well as pay down your debt as fast as you possibly can. Your savings doesn't necessarily need to be big in the beginning while you're paying down debt, but you should still have something saved. Number 10 is beware of the 5 laws of gold. Principles against get rich quick schemes. The author summarized his financial philosophy into 5 simple laws, and I think we can pretty much all do the same thing. Save at least 1/10 of your paycheck, or all income. I won't just say your paycheck because people have other sources of income. Save at least 1/10 of your income. Invest your savings wisely. Avoid investments you don't understand. Don't force your money into occurring impossible gains. And protect your principal. Protect the money that you put in. Protect the money that you save. These laws basically just anticipate the pitfalls of the modern speculative trends, meme coins, cryptocurrency hype, unregulated DeFi protocols, all of these things that a lot of people don't understand before they get into it. If a promise seems too good to be true, then it probably is. As long as you keep that in mind, then everything else will continue to work in your favor. Respecting these laws not only preserves capital, but it gives you a peace of mind. It has been nearly a century, and The Richest Man in Babylon, this book remains a blueprint for building consistent wealth. Consistent savings, smart investing, controlled spending, and self-improvement will trump any flashy fad that we have in the financial realm. If these lessons resonate with you, comment below with the one rule that you are struggling with the most, and share this video with a friend who needs a Babylonian wake-up call. Stay tuned because we're only getting started.